Good morning. Welcome to the today's session of computer organization and architecture. So in the previous class we discussed about the important data structures. Those are stacks and queues. And in today's session, as I said in the previous class itself, we will be discussing about the subroutines. So it is another important programming aspect. So if you consider any programming, so if you have a routine or a set of instructions which are to be executed more than once, then those can be placed in a program segment which is referred as the subroutine. And in many computers, so in many programs it is essential to perform execution of those instructions, that is a set of instructions, many times, and we call those set of instructions as the subroutines. And now we will be discussing about the subroutines in today's class. Okay, so if you consider the subroutines, so these are set of instructions that can be placed wherever required in a program. But if you consider the length of the program, it will be very tedious. If you consider the applications wherein you may have to take the average, or you may have to obtain the sine function for a given set of data, or you may have to add some n numbers, or you may have to perform some calculations so repeatedly. In such cases, it is unusual to write all those instructions each and every time. So in order to reduce the length of the program, in order to save the memory, we can place those segments which are repeatedly executed or which are repeatedly required in a program in a subroutines. And whenever the requirement of these instructions is there, then you can make a call to the subroutine and you can execute. Once the execution of this subroutine is over, then it can come back to the execution of the main program, that is the execution of the next instruction in the main program. And if you consider these subroutines, as I said just now, so you need to make a call. You need to make a call whenever required, and once the execution is over, it has to return. Therefore, we have two important instructions related to this subroutine, and those are call and return. So whenever required, so calling the subroutine is essential. So whenever the call instruction is used, it is going to make it jump to the memory location where this subroutine is stored, and then it is going to execute all the instructions. And in the subroutine, we will be having the last instruction as return, so which will be directing the processor to return to the main program, to the instruction so that is next to the call instruction. So this is how the execution happens. So this is how the control will be passed from subroutine to the main program, and main program to the subroutine. So now if you consider the returning or if you consider this operation of the calling the subroutine and the returning the subroutine, so the computer the procedure used by the computer to call and return to the subroutine is called as subroutine linkage. So we call that procedure as subroutine linkage. And if you consider the subroutine linkage, here the very important aspect or very important point to look into is the returning aspect. So if you consider the return, so it has to return to the main program to an instruction so which is present next to the call instruction. Therefore, it is essential to store the contents of the PC before it could branch to the subroutine. So while the processor is executing this call statement, the contents of PC will be pointing to the next instruction, so which is present after this call. Therefore the PC will be pointing to the next instruction which is to be executed. So while this is being executed, this information should be stored in some register or some memory location, so that can be used while returning to the main program. Therefore, so we store that information in a register called as link register. Okay, now let us see so how this call return, okay, and this copying the content of link register, okay, into the PC or PC to the link register happens. So if we consider, okay, some memory location and main program, and let us consider we have subroutine in some memory location. Okay, here we have subroutine, and let us, okay, call, let us give the name as sub, and let us assume it is at a memory location 200, and next let us assume the next instruction is at 204. So next instruction, and now let us see so what is the content of PC, okay, and what is the content of link register. In both the cases, so that is before and after, okay, so that is before going to the subroutine and after returning from the subroutine. Yes, so now let us assume the memory location of the subroutine, okay, is at 1000 and the first instruction is at 1000, and let us, okay, assume we have written as the last instruction in the subroutine. So whenever, okay, the execution of the program is encountered with this instruction that is called sub, so it is going to make a jump to the subroutine. So we have it in the memory location 1000, so this will be executed, and when the return is encountered, it is going to, okay, return to the next instruction. So initially what happens, the contents of PC, so while this is being executed, this PC will be pointing to the next address, that is 204, okay, and so once the call subroutine is executed, it is going to store with the new address location, that is 1000, and in this, okay, this is going to copied into the link register, and the link register contains 204, okay, and that will be passed into the PC. When this return is executed, okay, the contents of link register is copied into the contents of PC. So these are contents of PC and this is content of the link register. Initially link register, okay, will not be having any data, or it might be having some data which is, okay, the previous, the subroutine, okay, data. So initially, or when we, okay, consider the execution of this call sub instruction, so we will be having 204 in the PC, so that will be copied into the link register, and the data of this link register will be, okay, stored until we have the execution of return instruction. So when this return instruction is executed, okay, it is going to copy the content of link register into the PC, so that it points to the next instruction which is to be executed. So this is about the subroutine. Next, if you consider, okay, a program wherein you are going to call, okay, the subroutines more than one time, then what happens to the contents of the link register? That is, if you have a nested subroutine, so more than one times if you call, then it will be keep on updating and return will happen as soon as the subroutine, okay, is executed. But if you have a nested subroutine, in that case, so what has to be done? Okay, so in that case you will be having, or you may have to store more than one, okay, address location. In that case, what we are supposed, that we will discuss as the next topic. next is subroutine nesting and processor stack. So as I said just now, if you consider subroutine wherein we will be having another subroutine within one subroutine. In that case, so if you consider the return address, so as we discussed previously, I said that return address will be stored in a register called as link register. If that is the case, and if you have a subroutine like subroutine 1, okay, within that we have subroutine 2, let us assume, okay. So within that we have subroutine 3, and let us assume we have return 3, return 2 and return 1, okay. If you observe this kind of the subroutines, so this kind of subroutines are called as subroutine nesting. So if you have one subroutine within the another subroutine, okay, such routines are called as, or such an arrangement is called as subroutine nesting. And now let us assume, so we have this kind of an arrangement wherein we have 3 subroutines and 3 returns respectively, okay. So now if you observe here, so as we discussed just now, so we know that the subroutine return, okay, so is the address of the return location will be stored in a register called as link register. In that case, so if this is the subroutine being executed, then return 3 address will be stored, okay, by erasing the address which is stored previously. So the address which is stored previously is nothing but the return address of the second subroutine. So like this, if you consider the previous to this, that is the address of the first return, okay, first subroutine, that is return address of the first subroutine will be erased and it will be replaced by return address of the second subroutine. So if we have a nested subroutine, so this is the problem we have. So we have to look for some arrangement wherein we should have the return address of all the subroutines, because if you observe, so the last subroutine which is being called is the first one to be executed, and the return statement, okay, the return address which is required is also the last address which is stored. Therefore, if you observe carefully, so we can say that this is working on the last in first out principle, so what we have discussed for the stack. So similar to the stack, here also we require the last address which is stored in the, okay, memory to be used as the first address to go back to the, or to resume the execution of the previously called subroutine. So therefore, so we can make use of a stack, okay, which is called as the processor stack in order to store the return addresses. So if you make use of processor stack, there we have a stack pointer which is dedicated to, okay, point to the stack which is called as processor stack. So in this case, the processor stack will be containing the return addresses of all these. So the contents of PC will be moved into the stack when the subroutine is called, and then the contents of, okay, the stack will be copied into the program counter whenever a return statement is executed. As I said, so since it is based on the last in first out principle, so if you use a stack, then so return address of the first subroutine will be the first element in the stack, and return address of second, okay, subroutine is the next. And so if you consider there are only three subroutines, then you have 3 return addresses. Therefore, so since the stack pointer will be pointing to the top of the stack, so return address of the third subroutine is the first element which is present on the stack. Therefore, so it retrieves the address and it is going to resume execution. And similarly, so when it comes to the second, okay, return, it is going to retrieve the second address. So then it is going to, okay, resume the execution from the point where the second subroutine has been called. So like this, so if you use a stack, okay, in conjunction with the subroutine, then it is easy for handling the addresses, because this can go up to any depth. So subroutine nesting, so what we are speaking, this can be up to any depth. Therefore, you can make use of the processor stack, okay, in order to store the return addresses. Next will be the parameter passing. So if in applications, so where we are using subroutines, it is essential to pass the values to the subroutine, and after computation the results must be copied into the main program. So in order to understand so how to pass the values and how to get the result back and what is the method, okay, the computer is having in order to pass the values and get the result back, that is what we are going to discuss next. The next topic is parameter passing. So if we consider the subroutine, so as we discussed, it is intended to perform some operations. When we want to perform some operation by a set of instructions, then it is essential to pass the data required to the subroutine, and then whatever the computation result is there in the subroutine, that has to be passed back to the main program. So this exchange of information between the main program and subroutine is called as parameter passing. Parameter passing can be done in two ways, and the first method is through the registers, and it is a very straightforward method, and let us see the program for passing the parameters through the registers. So if we consider the program, we have move n comma r1, okay. So here we are passing, that is we are moving the contents, that is n into the register r1. So n is nothing but the total number of values to be added, and next instruction we have is move hash num1 comma r2. Here we have, okay, the location of the first element which is to be added, so that is being moved into r2, so that we can use r2, okay, as a pointer. Next we have the statement that is call list add, where list add is the name of the subroutine. So let us, okay, see the subroutine now. In the subroutine we have list add, clear r0 is the, okay, so first instruction we have in the subroutine. So r0 will be clear to 0. Next we have loop, wherein we have the add instruction, so addition, and as we have discussed, so here the decrement of r1 will happen. R1 is, okay, nothing but the total values to be added. Since r1 is a register, you can use directly the r1 itself. It is not necessary to copy the contents of this register once again. If you observe, so it is very straightforward. So here we are storing the values, okay, in the register, and the same registers are being used in this case. Therefore, so this is one of the way, okay, in which we can pass the values. And now if you consider a program wherein we have too many values and the registers are not sufficient to, okay, hold the values which are required or which are, okay, essential for the subroutine, and in that case, so we may have to use the stack. So now in the second example, okay, in the second code we have that type of parameter passing. So here we are making use of stack in order to pass the values, as I said. So if the registers are not sufficient to hold the data which is required in that case, so we may have to go to the stack. And if you consider the, okay, so usage of stack and how to move the data and how to retrieve the data, so let us, okay, see and let us understand so how the stack is being used in the parameter passing. So in this case we have move hash num1 comma minus sp. So we are decrementing the stack. If you observe here, so this is the, okay, the stack pointer initially is at level 1. So initially at level 1, when we decrement it, okay, so it moves to this address location and it is going to store the num1 address of the first element to be added in this location, and then move n comma, okay, minus, so sp. So in this case what we are doing, again we are decrementing the stack and then we are moving n value into the stack. So num1 is moved first and then we are moving n, okay, n is nothing but, so the number, so which is represented as small n, and num1 is nothing but the address of the first, okay, element to be added. So now we have num1 and n which are required for the subroutine. Yes, next we have a call instruction to the subroutine. So we have call list add as the next instruction. Therefore, so it will make a jump to the subroutine list add. In the subroutine list add, you can observe we have, so the first instruction as move multiple. So this is used in order to move the multiple instructions. So most of the computers will provide this type of instruction. So now we are using move multiple in order to move the registers, that is R0, R1, R2. Okay, if I write R0 to R2, that indicates R0, R1, R2. See here, so if you observe, so this was, if at this point the top of the stack was at level 2, I have written here. Okay, and remember here, when this call list add is executed, at that point of time we have the contents of PC as the address of the next instruction. So since we are, okay, we have to resume the execution again from this address. So this address needs to be stored. That is done here. So return address is stored, okay, at this point, and then, okay, so the stack pointer or the top of the stack is at level 2 at this point. So now if you observe, see here, we are moving this multiple register contents into the stack pointer. So, and if you observe, we have used auto decrement symbol here. Therefore, so it will decrement and it will store the contents of R0, R1, R2 in the respective memory locations. So minus SP, therefore from level 2 it will go back to the one memory location previous to this, and it will store the first register content, and then so it will subtract once again, it will store the second register. Similarly it will, okay, subtract once again, okay, and then it is going to store the last register, that is contents of R2. Now let us see, okay, so what are all the other instructions we have and how, okay, these memory locations will be updated according to the instructions whatever we have written. So in this case, so observe here, move 16 offset, we are using index addressing mode, okay. So we have used 16 as offset, so 16 of SP. So 16 of SP, now where we have the SP value, SP, so after decrementing thrice in this instruction, it is at level 3. Observe carefully, initially it was at level 1, okay, after moving the two elements, that is N and num1, it has moved to, okay, level 2, so it has moved to level 2 after moving N and num1 and after storing the address. So after storing the return address, it has moved to level 2. Now after, okay, storing R0 through R2, contents of R0 to R2, it is at level 3. Therefore, so since this is at level 3, and in order to perform the addition of the numbers, or in order to include these instructions which are essential for performing addition of n numbers, so we are supposed to move the stored values, that is n and num1, into the registers. Therefore, so now what we are doing, so we are adding 16 to stack pointer and placing that value to R1. So see here, R1 should contain small n or n value. Therefore, so if you add 16, it will come to this address, 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4. 4 times if you increment, okay, then it will point to this. So now since the top of the stack is in this position, we have to add 16 so that n value, total number of elements to be added, is stored in register R1. Okay, then so move 20 of SP, so 20, offset of 20 being added, so stack pointer is at this point, okay, and if you add 20, it will point to num1. So num1 is moved into R2. So this program is same as the previous one, but since we are having the involvement of stack, so we are, okay, storing the result, or we are using, okay, the stored values in the stack. So because of that reason, we are using this offset addressing mode. So 20 of SP, so that points to the address of the first element to be added, and that address will be moved into R2. That address will be moved into R2. Yes. So now we have R1 as small n and R2 as hash num1. Okay. Then clear R0. Then add contents of R2, okay, to the R0 and increment R0. So increment R2. So then decrement R1, branch greater than 0, loop. Okay, so this is how the instructions, okay. will perform the addition of n numbers, so similar to the previous case. And after this we have move r0 comma 20 of sp. So what we are doing, so if you observe, the stack pointer is at this point. Now 20 of sp we have already seen, so this is nothing but num1. What we are doing now, we are moving the sum. r0 contains the sum of all the elements, all the n elements, so that is being moved into num1 location. So this is being erased, okay, and after execution of these instructions, this will be containing the contents of r0 will be copied into this. So you may ask, num1 has been, okay, destroyed, so num1 is no more required for the execution, so it is being replaced by the sum value. Or you can, okay, store this in any of the, okay, memory location. They have, okay, they are storing it in 20 of sp, so that is this location. And then again we are moving the multiple, so by incrementing the stack pointer. So now the stack pointer is in this level 3, so if you increment, so it is going to copy the contents of these registers, okay, into this. So increment, so first initially it will store and then it will increment. So contents of r0 will be copied into this location, contents of r1 and then contents of r2, or it can copy contents of r2 here, it's okay, and r1 r0 like this. So it will increment and copy the contents, the new contents, so of r1, r0 and r2 registers into these 3 places. And then if you observe here, see, so after the subroutine, okay, execution is over, it is going to resume the execution from this point. So here, so after moving these sp plus, okay, incrementing and moving the contents of r0, r1, r2 into these 3 locations, so this will be at this point, that is stack pointer, so will be at this point. And then we have add #8 comma stack pointer, so this will increment the stack pointer by 8 and it is going to, okay, make this level 1 as the top of the stack. That means it is going to restore the top of the stack value, okay, after execution of this statement. Okay, this is about the parameter passing. And if you observe, okay, the passing of 2 values, one is hash num1 and the other one is n. So here the first one, okay, we instead of giving the address of, okay, the first number, we could have given the element itself, but there what we are doing, we are passing the address of the first number to be added. Therefore, so that is called as passing the parameter by reference, passing by reference. That method, that is where you are going to specify the address of an operand instead of the operand itself, then that kind of parameter passing is called as passing by reference. And the second one, so where we have n, okay, there we are passing the value, so that kind of parameter passing is called as passing by value. Okay, this is about parameter passing in subroutine. Thank you.